If you grew up watching Five Heartbeats, Michael Wright is a face you probably never forgot. His portrayal of Eddie King Jr. was intense, emotional, and unforgettable. Now, fans are mourning the actor after news broke that Michael Wright has died at the age of 70. But who is Michael Wright away from the famous character? What do we actually know about his death? And how should we remember a career that stretched across more than 4 decades? Before we get into his story, make sure you subscribe to the channel, because we bring you the latest celebrity news, biographies, and the stories behind the headlines. Michael Wright was born on April 30th, 1956, in New York City. He grew up in New York and attended the New Lincoln School in Manhattan. From relatively early in his career, Wright showed that he was not simply interested in being a recognizable face. He had the ability to disappear into complicated characters, and that became one of the defining features of his work. His professional screen career began in the late 1970s, including a role in The Wanderers. But one of the earliest major turning points came with Streamers, Robert Altman's 1983 military drama. Wright's performance was so highly regarded that he won the Volpe Cup for Best Actor at the Venice Film Festival. That achievement is extremely important when looking at his legacy, because it proves that his talent was recognized at a major international level long before the Five Heartbeats made him a household name among many American movie fans. And then came the role that changed everything. In 1991, Wright played Eddie King Jr. in Robert Townsend's Of Five Heartbeats. The movie followed a fictional R&B vocal group and explored ambition, friendship, fame, addiction, and the pressures of the music business. Wright's Eddie King was one of the film's most complicated characters. He wasn't simply a villain or a troubled musician. He was a talented man whose personal demons threatened everything he had worked for. In my opinion, that is why the performance has lasted for so long. Wright gave Eddie vulnerability underneath the anger and confidence. Even decades later, people still discuss and quote scenes from Of Five Heartbeats. That kind of cultural staying power is something every actor hopes to achieve. But Michael Wright was much more than Eddie King. His resume included V, The Final Battle, The Principal, Sugar Hill, Miami Vice, New York Undercover, Oz, and later Black Lightning. On Oz, he played Omar White, giving another memorable performance in a very different environment. His career demonstrated an impressive range across movies, network television, and premium cable. Now, let's talk about his personal life, because this is where it is important not to confuse confirmed information with internet speculation. Michael Wright was previously married to Mitzi Lau. Public biographical information says the marriage began in November 1994 and ended in divorce in 2000, and the couple had 1 daughter. Following news of his death, his wife, Susan Wright, confirmed his passing and described him as a husband, father, grandfather, loved one, friend, and extraordinary artist. Her statement also named members of his family, including Manon Wright, Byron Barr, Brittany Briggs, Brianna Barr, Sir Barr, and his granddaughter Yoko. The family asked people to respect their privacy while they grieve. And now we come to the question many people are searching for. What caused Michael Wright's death? At this time, there is no publicly confirmed cause of death. That distinction is extremely important. His death was confirmed by his wife, but the family has not publicly announced a medical cause. Reports have specifically warned against spreading unconfirmed explanations. So if you see social media posts claiming that a particular illness, substance, or medical emergency caused Wright's death, those claims should be treated cautiously unless they're confirmed by his family or an authoritative source. And I think that is the responsible way to discuss the death of someone who has just passed away. There's a temptation online to fill an information gap with speculation, but not knowing the cause today does not mean we should invent one. Michael Wright's death also brings attention to an important part of his legacy. He was an actor who achieved something bigger than a single hit movie. Yes, The Five Heartbeats may be the performance most people immediately associate with him, but winning the Volpe Cup for Streamers was arguably his greatest formal career achievement. Meanwhile, Eddie King Jr. may be his greatest cultural achievement because that character continues to introduce new generations of viewers to Wright's work. There is also an interesting lesson in Wright's career. Hollywood sometimes remembers actors based on one iconic role, but Wright's filmography tells a different story. He worked consistently across several decades and appeared in projects ranging from cult television to major movies and acclaimed dramas. As for Michael Wright's net worth, this is another area where we have to separate an estimate from a confirmed financial record. Celebrity net worth currently estimates his wealth at approximately $500,000, but that figure is not an official financial disclosure from Wright or his estate. There is no reliable public accounting of his assets, property, investments, debts, or private earnings. So I would not present $500,000 as a confirmed number. It is better described as a published estimate. And personally, I think focusing too heavily on the net worth number misses what made Michael Wright important. He wasn't necessarily the actor with the biggest Hollywood paycheck or the most famous name on a movie poster. His strength was performance. He could walk into a scene and make you pay attention. He could play someone dangerous, vulnerable, angry, or broken without making the character feel one-dimensional. That is why Eddie King Jr. remains so memorable. Michael Wright leaves behind a career that began in the late 1970s and continued through multiple generations of television and film. He earned major recognition for streamers, became a beloved figure through the 5 Heartbeats, and continued working in projects including Oz and Black Lightning. And perhaps the most fitting way to remember him is not by the circumstances of his final days, which remain private, but by the work he left behind. Michael Wright was 70 years old when he died, but the characters he created do not age. Eddie King Jr. is still on screen. His performance in streamers is still part of film history. His television work remains available to new audiences. That's the real power of an actor. When the cameras stop rolling, the performance can continue living. Rest in peace, Michael Wright. Your work touched generations, and for many fans, Eddie King Jr. will never be forgotten.